Hello, American patriots. Are you a supporter of the Second Amendment? Are you a responsible gun owner? If so, then you know the day will come that you're going to need a trusted and qualified gunsmith. When that day arrives, I want you to contact the man that I trust with my weapons, Mr. Delaney Jackson, owner of Jumpin, Gunsmith, and Appraisal. Besides being a professional gunsmith, Delaney is a true American patriot. And, a little trivia for you, he's also the manager and guitar player for country music legend Mr. Mark Chestnut. So when the time arrives, take your weapons to the man who treats my weapons like they're his own, my trusted friend, Mr. Delaney Jackson at Jumpin, Gunsmith, and Appraisal. Contact information and website information is in the description of this video below. Thank you, and God bless.
I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, American patriots, and welcome to another episode of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places you could be tonight, but you chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Well, depending on who you listen to, the left, the right, or those that do have no clue, or those that have clues about where we're headed at the moment, many are saying that this is World War III with what's happening with Russia and Ukraine. And of course, then there are those that are saying that, no, this isn't World War III and you don't know what you're talking about. And hey, look, I, for one, would like to believe that. But let me assure you, considering that what we're doing right now, supplying Ukraine, and not just us, but all of NATO, with what they need to try and save their country from this onslaught from Russia, this is a world war. Whether or not you want to call it World War III, it's up to you. There's no declared war, per se, of America against anyone right now, other than, terrorists, but Joe Biden saw to it that we surrendered to them in Afghanistan. And even then, that wasn't a declared war. So what's happening? And why is it happening? The answer to that is really, really simple. We have a country, Russia, that wants to go back to the, not the people of Russia. Let me back up a second. Don't misunderstand this. Not the people of Russia, but the leadership of Russia in general wants to go back to the former Soviet Union and what they were like back then when they were all one big country. And after President Reagan saw to it, the Berlin Wall came down and Russia basically collapsed. All these separate countries took on and kept whatever they had there. And in this case, Ukraine kept all of its military weaponry that was Russia's. So they want it all back. They want it back to make themselves bigger again, more threatening again, back into the Cold War. And some of you, if you're younger and you don't know what that is, please look it up, Google it. Because we are, once again, right back in another Cold War. And from my personal knowledge, experience, not only serving in the military, but in law enforcement, talking to friends that are still in the military and friends that are in Congress. We are in a third world war at the moment. Anytime you are supplying a country with the means to defend themselves in this type situation, that's what you have. So the scary part about this is what we have currently for leadership. From 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue all the way down through his administration, those that are the Joint Chiefs of Staff that are up at the Pentagon, it's a freaking joke. But this is what we are faced with right now. And the only thing we can really hope for, the outcome of all of this, is going to be that neither side, nor another country like China or North Korea or Iran, launch a nuclear weapon. And I'll be honest with you, as someone that served in the Cold War, we are closer this very moment as I speak to the earth as we know it being destroyed by nuclear weapons. It's a scary thought. It's a thought that the Biden administration is very aware of, trust me, which is why they and NATO do not want to put a no-fly zone over Ukraine. And look, it doesn't matter what you think of Ukraine or what the Bidens have done there in the past, which is horrible. We've all seen those text messages, and we've seen the Joe Biden admitting the quid pro that he did there to help his son Hunter. But listen, in the long term, after midterms, when Republicans take back the House and Senate, then we will have the power to hold those accountable for their actions. Now, we did have that power not too long ago, and what did we do with it? Crickets. We let all the players get away literally with murder. And now they're doing everything physically possible to make life as miserable as they can. Did you know, for instance, that the Democrats in their daily briefings with each other when they get together, and their top Democrat leadership with Nancy Pelosi, and they discuss everything that's happening in America? You know what they're not talking about? Gas prices. That is correct. Oh, Congressman Jeffries made it very, very clear today, as a matter of fact. And I don't think he meant to do that. But sure enough, it sneaked out that they don't even discuss that. Because, look, they got so much damn money, they don't drive themselves around, especially not in Washington, D.C. Hell, when they're back in their own districts, they don't drive themselves around. Their gas is paid for. Their flights are paid for. And look, they could give a damn about you or me. But here we are. The thought of NATO right now is that in the event that we were NATO to conduct a no-fly zone over Ukraine, which is what needs to happen, it will trigger Putin, who's already appears to be unhinged, to fight back with nuclear capability, because that's his only option. We're watching, the world is watching his military get humiliated, literally, by trying to take over Ukraine. They've tried. So far, they haven't succeeded at it, But they have succeeded in destroying infrastructure, taking out communications, and killing hundreds, soon to be thousands, of innocent men, women, children, and their pets, animals. You name it, they're doing everything they can in their power to see to it they screw up and destroy everything they can in that country, so that they may then move in and take over and bring it back into what it used to be. And they're not going to stop there. If you think for 1 second they're stopping at Ukraine, well, you're not paying any attention to what's happening with this situation. It's going to get very, very nasty. So, what do we do? Besides supply the Ukrainian military with supplies, ammunition, weapons. That's what NATO is doing right now. Shy of a no-fly zone. And here's the main reason why, and a lot of people don't quite understand this. A no-fly zone would mean that NATO aircraft would have to shoot down Russian aircraft that are attacking Ukraine. And then it's pretty much over with. In the event that those in charge of the nuclear weapons in Russia would actually follow their leader's command to launch them. That's what NATO is afraid of right now, as is this administration. It's a scary thought. He's already threatened it. And he's already made it very clear that he's not stopping at Ukraine. I don't know what the best answer is for this scenario other than what we're doing right now. But there are some things that are happening that they're just not being honest about when it comes to supplying weapons to help Ukraine fight back this evil empire of Russia. Matter of fact, today was an outright lie. And it was difficult to listen to it. What am I talking about? Poland offered to give its entire fleet of MiG-29 fighter jets to us to give to Ukraine in exchange to buy American F-16s as part of a deal to bolster the Ukrainian Air Force, while at the same time upgrading the Poles' aircraft. The authorities of the Republic of Poland, after talks between the president and the government, are ready to deploy immediately and free of charge all their MiG-29 jets to Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany and place them at the disposal of the government of the United States of America, the Polish foreign minister said in a statement today. At the same time, Poland requests the United States to provide us with used aircraft with corresponding operational capabilities. Poland is ready to immediately establish the conditions of purchase of these planes. So they're willing to buy them. They're going to turn over their MiG-29s, which is what the Ukrainian military is used to flying. They know that airframe very, very well. That's what they have now. They have MiG-29s. They're going to turn them over to them and then purchase from us F-16s. And they even specified they can be used. Poles also requested any other NATO member countries that have MiGs of their own to take similar action. Those may include Bulgaria, for instance. Ukrainian defense officials for days have been asking for help with supplies ranging from helmets to ammunition and fighter jets, a request that Poland appeared fully capable and ready to fulfill and have been for actually a couple of weeks now. Undersecretary of State Victoria Nuland said during a Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing today that the announcement was a surprise move by Poland. Wow, they're shocked. To my knowledge, it wasn't pre-consulted with us that they planned to give these planes to us, she said. But as you know, we have been having talks with them for a couple of days now about the requests from the Ukrainians to receive their aircraft, and were they to donate them, rather we would be able to support backfill in their own security needs. Any problem, however, is that the United States does not have any F-16s coming off the production line to readily supply Poland, which also faces a potential threat from Russia and needs aircraft to defend itself. Earlier today, a bipartisan group of U.S. lawmakers sent a letter to Biden urging him to support the deal with Poland. But Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby distanced himself from the U.S. proposal later today, saying that while the discussion to hand over jets to Ukraine is in the hands of the Polish government, American involvement raises serious concerns for the entire NATO alliance. So he's saying, look, if we do this, then Russia may attack us with a nuclear weapon. What's stopping them from doing that right now? They want world dominance, right, John? It is simply not clear to us that there is a substantial rational for it, he said in a statement. We will continue to consult with Poland and other NATO allies about this issue and the difficult logistical challenges it presents, but we do not believe Poland's proposal is a tenable one. He said the U.S. would continue talks with Poland and the rest of NATO regarding the issue. Ukrainian pilots have been trained on the Soviet-era MiG jets. Poland, which joined NATO in 1999, aims to replace its fleet with used F-16s and train its pilots to fly them. Poland has 28 MiG-29s that it plans to hand over. According to the CIA's World Factbook, Ukraine has a broad defense industry capable of maintaining and upgrading Soviet-era combat aircraft. So, in that I just read to you is a lie spoken directly from our Pentagon and from those that are in charge of whether or not this deal goes through. You know, yes, it is true to say that we don't have an assembly line of F-16s rolling off that we can sell them brand new ones right now. But that's not what they asked for. They asked simply for used F-16s, 28 to be exact, to replace the MiGs they will give to Poland, that Poland will give to Ukraine to continue to conduct this conflict. And we have that, my friends. I've seen them with my own eyes. We have several hundred F-16s in storage at Davis Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona. And everything that we store there, they're capable of being fully mission capable and flying again in a matter of days. We can literally have their request with used F-16s within a matter of a couple of weeks. Done deal. Let Poland get their MiGs over there, turn it over to the Ukrainian military, and then in the meantime, have our folks over at Davis-Monthan start doing what? Making these F-16s operational. So instead of just being honest, once again, we get bullshit. We get lies. Or just no elaboration on what options are available. They didn't ask for brand new F-16s off the assembly line. What they asked for, we have. Hell, just go, if you know what an F-16 looks like, if not, Google it. Look at an aerial view of it. And then go to Google Earth. When you get there, go look at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base and scroll over to the boneyard where we store these airplanes. And you'll be able to pinpoint the F-16s, and you can sit there and you can count them, rows and rows and rows of F-16s. It can be made fully capable, mission capable, in a matter of days. That's the whole purpose of the boneyard, is aircraft that are used, that are reaching their retirement age. They're stored there in the event of a third world war. That's why they're there. Now, we don't need them. We're not going to use them in this situation. We've got what we need, operational. Every now and then, we go there for parts. Actually, we go there a lot for parts. But the option to utilize and make this deal come together, instead of doing it, we're dragging our feet and we're talking about logistics and whether or not we can sustain this request. This is asinine. It's no different than anything else we're seeing right now all across America and this globe. You know, we have a wide open border that this administration doesn't give a damn about, with sex trafficking and women and children and drugs and gang members and rapists and murderers coming across. Biden put his vice president, made her the border czar, put her in charge of it. And what has she done? Nothing. In fact, the woman has yet to sit down and even talk to the Border Patrol. She's not went out on the border and even looked at it, or Customs, or ICE, or all those on the front lines of protecting us on our southern border. Nope, she's done none of that. But this guy up at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue has her flying overseas and talking about what we can do over there. Matter of fact, she just was interviewed. Let me bring this up for you real quick, because this is just freaking amazing. She was recently interviewed about the war with Russia and Ukraine, and she was asked point blank to please describe the current situation over there, and what the U.S. is faced with, and how we got here. So here's what she had to say. And don't think too hard about this, because blood will start shooting out of your eyes and your ears and your nose. And I'm sure that your blood pressure will be skyrocketing, and that's not going to be a good thing. This is how she summed up what's happening. Her words. So, Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong. Now, that on its face is funny. But at the same time, that's a leader in our country. That's our vice president, who is like reading nursery rhymes. This is crazy. That's how she explained this. And now it should be pretty obvious why nothing's being done on our southern border to protect us, right? with these people in charge? Yeah. Not going to happen too quickly, is it? So you may have heard that Russia is cracking down on their news media outlets. Matter of fact, they have basically said that, and this is according to the people that have come out and spoken to, some of the news media outlets over there have spoken to Fox and CNN and MSNBC, and they've been very vocal as to what Putin has told them, which is if you paint anything negative about Russia in this Ukraine situation, then you're going to go to prison. That's how their freedom of speech is. Maria Barnova resigned as managing editor of Russia Today, a state-run media operation also known as RT, last week after condemning Russian President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. She's well aware that anyone who speaks out against the Kremlin could be in danger, but personal safety is the least of her concerns. The problem is, I know these people very well. They never send threats. They just kill. So there's a kind of weird silence around me, but I really think we're on the brink of a nuclear war right now. I'm not exaggerating. She told Fox News Digital from Moscow via a WhatsApp call, I have a son. I can't leave because his father won't allow me to leave with him. And so I just have to stay here in Moscow. It seems like we're either in North Korea or we're going to be killed by a thermonuclear mushroom, she said. I wouldn't quit and I wouldn't lose my salary and job if I was sure that we're going to be alive for many years. But I really don't know what is going to happen to us over the next few weeks. While many around the globe are gravely concerned Putin would resort to nuclear weapons, she said she's more worried about his behavior will make Russia the target of a horrible attack. A suspect the Western world will use it, she said. This is a very dangerous situation. The blunt reporter agreed to talk to Fox News Digital until her son's food was ready. She was home and cooking her kid dinner. She explained that the last straw before quitting RT wasn't any sort of on-air propaganda, but rather an Instagram message from her colleague who wrote, "If you are now ashamed of being Russian, don't worry, you're not Russian," as Putin's invasion of Ukraine intensified. I was really disturbed by that tone and level of support, she said, noting that she publicly responded to her now former co-worker's message. If I choose to be with Russia, this does not mean that I should walk in a totalitarian system, be silent, for example, rejoice in that regime, which I do not want for my country, is being exported everywhere else, she wrote. And this regime will finally turn our life into one endless hell. What's there? Already turned, she said, as she stepped down from the state-run network. and quit. Look her up. Maria, Baronova, managing editor of Russia Today. Even their own media, which is walking off in droves, literally quitting, is concerned that we're not going to be alive in the very near future. And that is some scary shit. So, what does the CIA think of all this? Oh, well, I'm glad you asked. U.S. intelligence officials in January assessed that Russia did not want a direct conflict with U.S. forces, but instead sought U.S. recognition of its claimed sphere of influence over much of the former Soviet Union. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence on Tuesday, today, released its 2022 annual threat assessment, which was submitted in early February. The assessment only includes intelligence through the end of January, weeks before Russia launched its multi-front war against Ukraine. The intelligence community's assessment states that Russia will remain an influential power and a formidable challenge to the United States amidst the changing geographical landscape during the next decade. The IC assessed that Russia will continue to pursue its interests in competitive and sometimes confrontational and prerogative ways. The intelligence community at the time said Russia would press to dominate Ukraine and other countries in its near abroad while exploring possibilities to achieve a more stable relationship with Washington. We assess that Russia does not want a direct conflict with U.S. forces, the IC assessment in January said. Russia seeks an accommodation with the United States on mutual non-interference in both countries' domestic affairs and U.S. recognition of Russia's claim of the influence over all of the area and bring it back into what it was before the former Soviet Union. The intelligence community explained that Russia officials have long believed that the United States is trying to undermine Russia's, weaken Russian President Vladimir Putin, and install Western-friendly regimes in the former Soviet states and elsewhere. Moves, the IC said, Russian officials conclude, gives Russia leeway to retaliate. President Biden, in the weeks leading up to Russia's February 24th invasion of Ukraine, and in the 13 days since Putin launched the war, has maintained that U.S. forces will not fight inside Ukraine against Russia. Instead, the United States has deployed thousands of troops to Eastern Europe with the intent of defending NATO allies. So let's stop for just a second. We're not going to get actively involved with U.S. forces, whether they're flying jets or bombers or drones, or our Navy, or our Army, because Ukraine is not a member of NATO. So we deployed forces to NATO countries over there to include B-52 bombers, B-1 bombers, stealth fighter jets. We sent a lot of firepower over there, and we're still sending a lot of firepower over there as I speak to protect NATO countries. While the Biden administration and its European allies and partners continue to provide military aid to Ukraine, the West has so far ruled out a no-fly zone over Ukraine, saying that enforcing one would put the U.S. and NATO in direct confrontation with Russia and would expand the conflict. At the time of the assessment, Russia has not yet invaded Ukraine. The intelligence community at the time said Russia was continuing to prepare for a military attack against Ukraine, with well over 100,000 troops massed near Ukrainian border, including Russian military forces in occupied Crimea and the separatist forces in eastern Ukraine. The intelligence community assessed that Moscow would continue to employ an array of tools to advance its own interests or undermine the interests of the United States and its allies. There will be pre-military, military, security, and intelligence tools with economic cooperation playing a smaller role, the IC stated. We expect Moscow to insert itself into crisis when Russia's interests are at stake and anticipate cost of actions are low, or it seems an opportunity to capitalize on a powerful vacuum. The assessment added that Russia probably will continue to expand its global military, intelligence, security, commercial, and energy footprint and build partnerships aimed at undermining U.S. influence and boosting its own. Meanwhile, the U.S. intelligence community assessed that Russia will remain the largest and most credible rival in weapons of mass destruction to the United States for the foreseeable future. And it expand and modernizes its nuclear weapons capability and increases the capabilities of its strategic and non-strategic weapons. Russia also remains a nuclear material security concern, the IC reported, noting that Russia views its nuclear capabilities as necessary for maintaining deterrence and achieving its goals in a potential conflict against the United States and NATO, and sees a credible nuclear weapon deterrent as the ultimate guarantee of the Russian Federation. The intelligence community stated that Russia is continuing its development of long-range nuclear-capable missiles and underwater delivery systems meant to penetrate or bypass U.S. missile defenses. And that's via their submarine force, just like we have. Russia is expanding and monitoring its large, diverse, and modern set of non-strategic systems, which are capable of delivering nuclear or conventional warheads. The report states, adding that Moscow believes such systems offer options to deter adversaries and control the escalation of potential hostilities. The intelligence community also found that Russia believes the expansion and modernization of its non-strategic systems could counter U.S. and allied troops near the border. The intelligence community also assessed that Russia would remain a top cyber threat in 2022 as it refines its employees, its espionage, influence, and attack capabilities. We assessed that Russia views cyber disruption as a foreign policy lever to shape other countries' decisions, as well as deterrence and military tool, the report states. The intelligence community found that Russia is particularly focused on improving its ability to target critical infrastructure, including underwater cables and industrial control systems in the United States, as well as in the U.S. allied and partner countries. The intelligence community found that Russia's successfully compromise of its infrastructure would demonstrate Russia's ability to damage infrastructure during a crisis. The IC at the time said Russia is also using cyber operations to attack entities it sees as working to undermine its interests or threaten the stability of the Russian government. Russia attempts to hijack journalists and organizations worldwide that investigate Russia's government activities. In several instances, has leaked their information, the report states. This week, New York State said it is facing increased risk of cyber attacks from Russia. NYPD also warned that New York City is currently on ultra-high alert. The IC also found that Russia presents one of the most serious foreign influence threats to the United States, using its intelligence services, proxies, and wide-range influencing tools to try to divide Western allies and increase its sway around the world while attempting to undermine U.S. global standing, amplifying discord inside the United States, and influence U.S. voters in decision-making. We assess that Moscow probably will build on these approaches to try and undermine the United States as opportunities arise. Russia and its actors are adapted at capitalizing on current events in the United States to push Moscow's friendly positions to Western audience, the assessment states. The IC in January also found that Moscow would continue online influence operations in the United States, and in other countries all around Ukraine and other countries of key Russian interests. The annual threat assessment was released just after Director of National Intelligence Orville Haines and other top U.S. intelligence officials testified before the House Intelligence Committee and warned that the coming weeks of Putin's war will get ugly as it takes an even more aggressive approach to try and take over Ukraine. Our analysts assess that Putin is unlikely to be deterred by such setbacks and insist that this may be an escalate, essentially doubling down to achieve Ukrainian disarmament neutrally to prevent it from further integrating with the US and NATO if it doesn't reach some diplomatic negotiation, which we all know has failed. Haines noted that while Putin may take a tougher stance now, he may be lowering his expectations in terms of a possible outcome as he sees more and more obstacles in his way. What he might be willing to accept as a victory may change over time, given the significant cost he is incurring. Haines said, meanwhile, the annual threat assessment was not just limited to Russia and addressed other global threats facing the United States for 2022, including China, including North Korea, including Iran, all of which Russia is siding with. In the coming year, the United States and its allies will face an increasingly complex and interconnected global security environment marked by the growing specter of great power, competition, and conflict, while collective transitional threats to all nations and actors compete for our attention and vital resources. The intelligence assessment states, the assessment states that China is increasingly a near-peer competitor, challenging the United States in multiple arenas, especially economically, militarily, and technology, and is pursuing a change global norms and potential threatening its own neighbors. And as many have said, Putin's invasion of Ukraine has emboldened China with regards to its ambitions to take Taiwan. The intelligence community warned that Beijing is using a coordinated approach to compel neighbors to acquiesce to its preferences, including its territorial and maritime claims and assertions of sovereignty over Taiwan. Beijing will press Taiwan to move towards unification and will rectify or react to what it views as increased U.S.-Taiwan engagement. We expect that fractions will grow as China continues to increase military activity around the island and Taiwan's leaders reset Beijing's pressure for progress towards unification. The assessment added that China's control over Taiwan's probably will disrupt global supply chains for semiconductor chips between Taiwan dominates production in the South China Sea. Beijing will continue to use growing numbers of air, naval, and maritime law enforcement platforms to intimidate rival claimants and signal that China has effectively control over contested areas. The assessment states China is similarly pressuring Japan over contested areas in the China Sea, and we all know that. The IC also addressed that China presents the broadest, most active, and persistent cyber espionage threat to the United States government and private sector, along with Russia. China's cyber pursuits and export of related technologies increase the threat of attacks against the U.S. homeland, suppression of U.S. web content, and Beijing views as threatening to its control and the expansion of technology-driven authoritarian globally, the report states. The intelligence community also found that instability and conflicts continue to threaten U.S. persons and interests, some of which have direct implications of U.S. security. For example, the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan. Afghanistan threats U.S. interests, including the possibility of terrorist safe havens re-emerging in a humanitarian disaster. All of that, my friends, is from the wonderful people today in our CIA. So it doesn't matter where you look, whether you listen to what's coming out of the Pentagon, whether you listen to what's coming out of the White House press briefing, whether you listen to the CIA. We're in a world of shit. It's not good. As someone who served in the Cold War, that trained, literally trained to fight the Soviet Union. And then I can't even explain to you the huge boulder that was lifted off of our shoulders when Ronald Reagan saw to it the Soviet Union collapse. I'm telling you, my friends, and any veteran that served during the Cold War will tell you what a blessing it was that was no longer going to be a threat to us, a nuclear war. And the Cold War, as we knew it, went away. And then over time, we started basically making friends with Russia. And for the most part, Russia was just a country over there that didn't bother or interfere with us until Trump came around. And then it was Russia, Russia, Russia all over the news. And how horrible they were. And how Trump's going to get us all killed. He's going to get us all into a nuclear war with Russia or China or North Korea or Iran. And of course, we know that none of that happened under Trump. No matter what you think of the guy, he at least had a set of brass balls and spoke his mind. And that was enough to scare the shit out of these dictators across the globe. To go, I don't know what the hell the guy's going to do. His own people are saying he's crazy. That would be the Democrats and liberals. And then here comes the election. And all the crazy shit. Your money, your tax dollars, went to trying to take down a sitting president with lies, Russia collusion, shit that didn't take place, phone conversations that supposedly were so damning it's going to take this man down. It didn't. All the reports came out. In fact, what did we learn? Unless you just woke up from a coma, you learned that the people colluding with Russia was Hillary Clinton, was Obama, was Democrats. That's who was colluding with Russia. We know. Hell, as Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton saw to it that Russian companies got control over most of the uranium that we had, and that's used to make nuclear weapons. What have the Democrats said about it? What are they saying about it now? Hell, during the Trump era, we should retaliate against Russia for what they did over our elections. You heard it on CNN, you heard it on MSNBC, you heard the liberals saying it, you heard Democrats saying it. We should attack them. We should make them pay. They should suffer for what they did trying to take over our election. And what happened? What happened? Operation Corn Pop. That's what happened. And what do we get out of it? Well, we got some crazy shit out of it. That's what we got out of it. We ended up going from a great economy, with the exception of COVID, which kind of screwed it all up. But if you take that out of the picture, We had a country that had a strong military, that was supporting our veterans, supporting our members of law enforcement. We had cheap gas prices. We had a great economy, aside from COVID, screwing it all up. And then, what's happening now? Going to the store recently and purchased anything and seeing the prices, especially with gas. Fill up your vehicle. Hell, I just filled up my truck 2 days ago and it cost me $130. It's a diesel. It's $3,500. So it's holds a lot of fuel. But it wasn't that not too long ago. Finally, Biden has agreed today that we will stop buying oil and gas from Russia, which is pretty much the only way to hurt them, because these other sanctions we're doing, like McDonald's is closing down over there. AT&T is no longer going to do business with them. Target and Walmart are no longer going to do business with them. A bunch of sanctions that don't mean shit. Going after their leaders' bank accounts and things like that, that kind of put a dent in it. But oil and gas from Russia should have never happened. And then what's this administration want to do about it? Well, let's see. Besides buying oil and gas from Russia, we stopped drilling on federal lands, which Trump had authorized. We shut down the Keystone Pipeline. We've gone after the energy community as a whole in Texas and Louisiana, where most of it's all produced and drilled. Coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, no more new leases. And then they're spinning some just ridiculous stories in the press briefings that I'm not even going to go into right now because it's so freaking stupid. They're trying to blame Trump for the cost of gas being so high right now. They're blaming it on the Ukraine invasion for it being so high right now. So you would think, since now Biden gets it because his own party was fixing to turn on him, especially Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi came out and said, this is ridiculous. Why are we buying oil and gas from Russia? Stop that. And it took Nancy Pelosi saying that to get Biden to go, okay. So what do you do now to fix this problem we have? Well, what you should do is go back to the Trump era drilling. Drill, baby, drill. Remember that? We have enough oil and gas, and through shale and coal, to supply everything we need in America for the next 500 years. Trump did get us off of being dependent on foreign oil. Russia, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Venezuela, all these people that hate us, he finally got us away from that. And this senile son of a bitch up at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue put us right back in the same boat we were already in, that we've been trying to get out of. And do you think he's going to go and fix the problem by allowing the drilling to continue and stop attacking our oil and gas industry in Texas and Louisiana? No. What's he going to do? He wants to talk to Saudi Arabia and Iran and Venezuela to up their production. And we buy from them and put us right back dependent on oil and gas from other countries. Because, we must save the spotted owl and the rat that runs freely along the Texas border or some stupid fucking endangered shit that I don't even look. All I know is we had the ability to be self-sufficient, and this guy comes in with his green new shit of we're gonna do with, we're gonna get off of oil and gas, we're gonna do all that kind of stuff, and then what happens today? His own party still goes after him. Two people that I have been so critical of, Alihan Omar and AOC, spoke up today and went, what are we doing? What do you mean you're going to go talk to Saudi Arabia and Iran and Venezuela? Now, they didn't say what I said, which is let's just go, all these things that Biden did away with, that Trump had put in place to make America great again. They didn't suggest that. In fact, they didn't make a suggestion other than what makes common sense to anyone with a brain. You don't go buy oil and gas again from Middle Eastern countries and Venezuela. You don't do that. No, you don't. So stop screwing with our oil and gas production. Look at green energy 5 years from now, or hell, next year, look at it. But right now, stop the silly shit. Because now that we finally are doing what we should do, which is get away from Russian oil and gas, if we're looking at other countries instead of our own, you will not be able to afford to fill your vehicle up with fuel in the coming weeks. You think out in California paying $5 a gallon, $6 a gallon, hell, I've seen some people posting shit, $8 a gallon for gas is high? You ain't seen nothing yet. If this guy does not release all these executive orders he put into place to shut down what Trump put into place, then forget taking a vacation anywhere, traveling with a vehicle, because you're not going to be able to afford it unless you're a millionaire or if you're a member of Congress, because then you lose all touch with reality and you don't know what shit costs anyhow. Folks, think about what all I had to say today. If you think I'm wrong, put it in the comment section. But do your homework. I'm so sick of seeing comments where liberals and Democrats say stupid shit that just doesn't even make any sense. It's not even worth responding to. It's laughable. And I'm one that's always said, look, if you're going to complain about something, have a solution to come along with the complaint. And I'm giving solutions. Hell, I even gave a solution as to how we stop Russia from invading in the first place. And too late. Nothing was done about it. And here we are. Anyhow, if you haven't already done so, please go to DouglasDucote.com. Check out the website. I put it in the community section, and I'll put it out here to you guys now, that I'm blessed to be able to do a lot of traveling coming up real soon here in 2022, where I'll be doing my show live from other locations, as well as going out and showing you, doing videos on history type things. Thankful to a subscriber that would like to remain anonymous that is assisting in this adventure. I will be traveling to places like France, to D-Day, where the invasion took place in Normandy Beach. I'll be traveling to Hawaii, to Oahu. I'll be showing you the USS Arizona, the Missouri, different things that took place during World War II. I'll be traveling to other parts of America Going to go up to Ohio. We're going to go to the U.S. Air Force Museum up there and other places throughout the country to show you our history. I want you that are not capable of traveling for whatever reason to see what I've seen. I want you to experience our history. And I'm going to be focused on doing that as we move forward. And I hope that you will support those options. I will still be doing the show. I will still be putting out my beliefs and my thoughts based off of my own education and world experience as to how I see what's happening in America and across this country and the globe. And I hope that you will continue to follow me on that pursuit. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders and their families, our Angel families, our Blue and Gold Star families, and our country. And if you don't know what Blue and Gold Star families are or Angel families, please look it up. They need our support because they're not getting it from those that are in charge today, those that are supposedly leaders of this country. You had many places to be tonight, chose to be here with me. Thank you. God bless you all. And I'll be seeing you, remember, Tuesdays and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Central, unless something happens, such as, a nuclear freaking mushroom going off. It's crazy. Pray that never happens. Take care, everyone. God bless you. And I'll be seeing you real soon.